Lizards scale walls by generating van der Waals forces with the microscopic hairs on their feet. When the electrons in the lizard's atoms interact with the electrons in the wall's atoms, these forces are produced. Additionally, the toes of the lizard's feet include small pads, which enhance surface area and aid the lizard in grasping the wall. Have you ever thought about how bizarre it is that lizards can climb walls and even stroll on the ceiling upside down? Despite the fact that some individuals are not particularly fond of them, they are interesting creatures. However, I find it absolutely fascinating how they can defy gravity and walk on walls and ceilings. It turns out that the tiniest hair on their foot is what gives them their special talent. And a little bit of physical chemistry. You can move on to the following heading if you are familiar with van der Waals forces. Those that aren't will benefit from a brief explanation. Atoms and molecules make up matter. In order to form molecules, various atoms must come together. There are two sorts of forces that can be taken into account when discussing a compound or any substance: intramolecular and intermolecular. The various atoms in a molecule are held together by specific forces. The ionic bonds, covalent bonds, and other intramolecular forces fall under this category. The intermolecular forces are those that exist between two dissimilar molecules. Intermolecular forces are referred to as van der Waals forces altogether. The negatively charged electrons that make up atoms are present. These circle around the nucleus, or core, of the atom. Donating, accepting, or sharing electrons results in the formation of molecules. These electrons are not stationary, as was previously mentioned. Instead, they continue to move. This results in situations when a lot of electrons gather at one end of a neutral molecule. That end of the molecule acquires a little negative charge since electrons have a negative charge. Considering that opposites attract, this negative charge repels the electrons of the surrounding molecules, causing them to momentarily congregate at the end that is opposite the negative charge. By encouraging the creation of more tiny charges in the molecules around it, the little negative charge creates a weak force of attraction between the molecules. This is the mechanism at work in neutral compounds. Similar to how they attract other molecules that already have a permanent charge separation, that is, they always have a positive and a negative end, do so without going through the process of developing a charge. Van der Waals forces are what these are. These forces only become active when two molecules are quite near together because of their weak force. The two surfaces need to be quite close to one another in order for these forces to have a significant impact between them. On the pads of their feet, lizards have a lot of microscopic hairs called setae. These hairs have small spatulae pads at their tips that are roughly 1/10 the size of a human hair. The van der Waals forces are activated as a result of these tiny pads greatly increasing the surface area and coming into close contact with the surface on which the lizard is crawling. Even though they are typically insignificant, the van der Waals forces in this situation combine to provide a quite powerful force. To understand how strong these forces can be, think of this: the number of hairs that cover an area the size of a single dime, which will be about 1 million hairs, can lift up to 45 pounds. Since just placing their feet on the surface would not produce the necessary force, lizards use a rotating motion to attach and detach their feet from the surface. They need to slide their feet into place instead. The huge force that has been generated will also make it impossible to simply pull their leg off the ground. It's quite an accomplishment for lizards to attach and remove their feet roughly 15 times every second. They didn't utilize all of their hair in the lab tests, or rather, they didn't need to. However, in the natural world, certain things like the waxy coating on leaves might reduce the forces exerted, so they used more of their hair. Therefore, even if I may not like these creatures, I must praise them for this unique quality. In fact, researchers are working to create dry adhesives inspired by lizard feet.